Okay, let's start another little tutorial on working with an underwater look, and let's just go for a little different look so we can see that there are a variety of looks you can possibly achieve if you're after something that's not terribly realistic. We'll start once again with our terrain. This is a terrain that I just built in a modeling program. You could use one of the terrains that come with iClone. I kind of prefer the old mesh mediums because of their flexibility. You could use one of these mesh mediums as your terrain. The only thing, once you load it in, be sure to right click on it and a menu will come up and it will tell you to convert it into a prop. Take it away from being a terrain and convert it into a prop, because when it's a prop you could do this effect that I like to do, which is animate the surface a little bit to create this kind of moving ripple effect, which I think kind of looks like underwater. I've never done a lot of scuba diving, but I think it kind of looks pretty cool. Once I convert this prop into a terrain though, what happens is I can't animate it anymore. It stops animating. I haven't been able to figure that out. Don't know if that can be remedied. Possibly can, but that's what I did once again with this terrain. I simply loaded a marble looking texture as a blend map, and then at the first frame I set an offset, and then did another offset. Let's go out here, click on it, there we go. I typed in this number here, and then I went to the end of the animation and typed in another number here, and just played with those numbers and got the speed that I was after, as far as the nice drifting speed there. So once again, that is my terrain, which is once again actually a prop. You can maybe see the grid coming on there. I've got this set right at the grid level, and then I adjust the hills and everything, and then of course bring in my water. Now I happen to use, I think it was the rippling shimmering water, and here it is here. Let's go and take a look at the modifications I did to it. We're using the water fog this time, and there we are. And as you see, we can now look above, and we can see our water now on top. If you needed a scene where you're looking up into the water, you can do it this way. Pretty much the same applies if you're looking down. We'll have to make adjustments for a camera looking down, but if we're underwater, we make adjustments for the underwater scene that we want to render. And once again, you could play with how much or how little you want to see of the rippling. Now in iClone 7, I've noticed the reflections aren't quite working as good as they did in the older versions, so hopefully that's going to be remedied very soon with some of our new reflection capabilities with the newer version of iClone. But if you adjust the wave size and everything, you can get the wave figured. If it's a wide expansive area, you'll probably want a smaller wave size. If it's a close-up, real close area and tight and not very deep, then you might want to go with a larger size of wave. And so there we have the basics of the scene, and now it's going to be a matter of adjusting our underwater fog. Now if you want it real dense, obviously you can do that. If you want it less dense, you might change this number here and keep playing with this number here, and keeping the foreground clearer, let's say, you see, and the background denser. You can just play with these numbers to create the look that you want under there, and it just all depends on what your taste might be. So that's that, and then we will bring in our props. Now in most scenes you automatically have a floor shadow pop up in your lighting. You really don't need that. So I usually delete it. You have a shadow catcher option prop too, and typically since we have a terrain, it's going to catch shadows. We don't need this either, so I like to delete those items. Now our lighting, of course, is going to be crucial. Once again, we go for a misty, dense, dark underwater scene, or we start playing with our lighting and getting the effect that we want there. I've added some old props that I made in a modeling program of some hulls, and so we've got that. We've got some fish that bought in the marketplace, possibly, or the content store, and I've attached a number of fish to a dummy object, and let's see if we can see the dummy. There's the dummy object there, and we've got a school of fish now going through. Of course, we've added our requisite bubbles here and there in our particle effects. We've got some, there we are, bubbles 1 and 2. You can add as many as you need to make it look like whatever. These are the old legacy particle effects that come with iClone. So there's that. I have added a sky in this one, and so there can be a sky above. And there it is there, and that gives us more reflection. So that's just a real basic sky that's once again free with iClone. And let's go to our underwater shot, and there's some old props that don't work in iClone. I'm going to delete these old masts, and I'll go back and delete those. Yeah, those are some old curtain effects. Used to work in iClone 5. To create that effect in 7, you could obviously use soft cloth and do the same effect if you wanted some old tattered masks that were still floating in the water a little bit there underwater, so it might not be too realistic. That would have been rotted long ago with this ship, so I deleted those, and now we're back to normal here. And so there's some props there. Obviously we're going to add some plant life, and as I say, it's probably not realistic plant life, but I'll use some of these and turn those on. So there we go, and so now we got some plant life going on, and let's add our swimmer. Already got our swimmer ready, and got some animation to the swimmer. And so now we've got our swimmer, and so now let's start playing with a little bit of lighting. Obviously, if you want a bright feel to your scene, then by all means adjust your lighting to achieve that. Just all depends on what you're after. I tend to like shadows. And now let's look at the water, and let's play with the water fog adjustments. And now that we've got a little different look with the sky added, so here we are there, giving us a little different look. Notice we have this drifting animation over the landscape, which I think looks kind of cool. It might be going a little fast, so once again you can adjust those numbers to do what they need to do, but that works pretty good. And let's turn that little light reference off. We have a swimmer tracking shot here. As I say, water is not working real good in iClone 7. You'll see this strange little silhouette around our actor there. That didn't happen in iClone 5. So hopefully that will get improved. And once again, we just play with your lights to get the proper feel that you want. If you want more light, less light, you can go that way. Now we can look above and we see rippling effect. Obviously the ripple effect for the water can be altered now by adjusting the wave strength, you see, and of course the size, depending on what kind of depth maybe you want. And clarity does have a little bit of adjustment. Softness won't have too much effect, if any, at all. Fraction, I don't think it's going to have any adjustments. But obviously play with the settings and see, what works for you. Some will have effect underwater, some will not. Some will be effective when you go above the water and look down into the water. But there we go. So let's go 0 here, a little more fog. Okay. And so now that shot there. Shot, and obviously the bubbles are coming up. We got some fish coming in here. Okay, so that's one look, and our other look underwater is a tracking shot here, and we've created a denser look for this scene. Obviously each camera might have a little different look to it, so you could adjust once again the water and the lighting to get the look you're after, and typically the fog's going to make the difference in underwater as to how much we're going to see. Okay, now one problem we haven't seen yet. Remember, I have added a sky up here, and if we go up and look, you see there's the sky, but notice what's happening here. That's the sky texture, and that's the edge of the water. Now, it's hard to get the water large enough to cover that little area in case you might see it, but notice my mountains are covering that problem area. You can obviously turn off the sky and adjust your color to match, and this is the color that I used here. It was typically gray is what I like, but here's the color I used for the fog, underwater fog. Now if I go and turn off the sky, that's that color, but obviously it's not matching the fogs actually. So you can play with adjusting it, and you might get something you can work with a good bit of adjustment. Don't know, pretty close there. But that's an issue you might run into if you want to have a sky above your scene, like so. Notice, of course, we're killing a lot of the ripple and the water effect, and once again we might be able to adjust some of that with the water. Let's take a look and see. I'm not sure if we can with that. There it's starting to come in there, but and that'll be maybe playing with our lighting, obviously. Getting a little bit, but it's trickier without a sky up there working with us. So that's something you have to adjust, and maybe bring your landscape mountains up higher to block that potential problem area for wide shots. And you can just barely see it there. You can probably get the color matched pretty close and do more of expansive shots, but you may lose some of the effect of the sky and the reflection that it gives you, like so. You see, notice when I turned the sky on, we had a lot better looking water effect now. And so that's something you have to kind of work around, work with, whatever's going to work for you there. Don't know. Now let's go overhead. Okay, here's our over the water camera, and we're not seeing a lot here, so let's take a look and see what's potential is the issue. We do have some light on. Let's look at our water, and let's adjust above water clarity. Here we go. That helps. And you can play once again with these adjustments. Notice I'm bringing in some of the blue from the sky there. Not going to have any effect there, and that's not going to have any effect there. Refraction, there we go. Yeah, it's having some effect there for sure. You can blur that if you wanted to, but I want it sharp. So now by adjusting the water only, we've got certainly something we can look at, and depending on, once again, how much rippling effect you want, you can adjust your wave strength and wave size here, like so, and I keep the waves moving pretty slow. Edge softness won't have anything to do with anything, since there's no objects sticking out of the water. If you did, you would have that. You would be able to see the effect of edge softness. Turning off underwater fog, or adjusting it is a possibility too. You can still have some if you needed it, but I wanted more clarity there, so I think I prefer that off. And now we've got an overhead shot. Let's see what adjusting our light might do. Got two lights turned on. There's no lights. There's a side light. These are the traditional lights that are on whenever you create a scene, so you'll probably have these lights available. You certainly don't have to use them. Obviously a murkier look underneath with that particular light. Once again, adjusting that light. Let's turn on its gizmo. Hit the rotation key. See, once again, by adjusting it, you can see the effect of that light. This is just another key light, and we'll adjust it. There's the shadow it's casting there, and once again, you can obviously play with its setting as well to get the look you're after. So you get an overhead look, but it has to be reset to get an overhead look, and then you can do the under, because if we go underwater, totally different look now. You see, we have to go back to those other settings to get the same look, because that really loses its effect. The big thing, of course, is the fog for the water. That always helps. But once again, we need to adjust the other settings as well. So hopefully that will give you some ideas on another potential look for the underwater shots.